Everybody is obsessed with Dune right now, and Funcom has cleverly timed their marketing for the upcoming Dune Awakening survival MMO to mirror Denis Villeneuve's movie release timeline in order to ride the sandworm of hype and get everybody invested in what could potentially be a really good survival MMO set in the Dune universe. Some parts of Dune's recent content updates definitely have me excited, but I'm also a little bit skeptical as well. There's a lot of information out there about Dune Awakening, so if you're new to the game, you just want to learn a little bit more, this video should have you guys covered. In a recent article, the game's creative director Joel Bylos claimed he drew a lot of inspiration from the famous Star Wars Galaxies, in my opinion, one of the best MMOs ever made. So naturally, this caught my attention. But Star Wars Galaxies, even in 2003, had a bunch of incredible features that are still ambitious even by today's standards. So while I'm going to show you more about Dune Awakening's features, I'm also going to touch on some of Star Wars Galaxies' brilliant designs that might show up in the game, which if you've never played Star Wars Galaxies, you might want to stick around and hear about. Hello, my name is Detox, and this is Detox's Lab, where I plan to cover more Dune Awakening content in the future. If that sounds good to you, and by the end of the video I've made you think or feel something, then please feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. I love the Dune universe and have played pretty much every game that's come out, including starting my entire gaming journey with Dune 2 on MS-DOS as a little maker.
Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged.
So what kind of Dune game is Dune Awakening? It takes place in a slightly alternate timeline in 10,199 AG, about 8 years after the events of Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 1. Except Duke Leto is still alive, and you can apparently meet him at some point in the game. The game is obviously being sold as a survival MMO encompassing thousands of players, though the weight and title of MMO and thousands of players has lost its meaning these days, and statements like these are usually wide open to interpretation. In recent news from PAX East and GDC, Funcom just confirmed how much of an MMO Dune Awakening really is. We have multiple maps in the game, a survival map, a deep desert map, and social hubs. These are all separate maps running their own Unreal server, and they all have different amounts of players per server. The social map might have 200 players, the deep desert map might have 500 players, the survival map might have 50 to 100 players, depending on how optimized it is and how many buildings there are. The deep desert is always a shared location. In Dune Awakening, it is 9 times the size of the Conan Exiles map. While there may be 10 instance survival maps, everyone shares a single deep desert map, so you'll meet people from all the other maps in that location. This is just a quick overview. So this kind of system would normally be a bit of a deal breaker for me, but because it's Dune and I'm getting tired of fighting the ever-decreasing scale of player population in MMOs, I'm going to give it a pass. I'm eager to see if this system is jarring though. If my buddy Uberleet69 is dying of thirst in Instant 2 and I'm in Instance 3, will I rush to save him in the exact same spot with a cup of cool, crisp aqua, only to hear he died of thirst 5 minutes prior because I wasn't in the right version or instance of the same map? That shit in MMOs can really kill my immersion. The deep desert sounds cool though. More on that in a little bit. As far as unique game features go, this is where Dune Awakening can kind of apply some of those Dune themes to the survival aspect of the game. Sandworms will not be rideable in the initial release of the game, but Funcom is considering this for the future. Sandworms will, however, be an ever-prominent threat on Arrakis, with smaller worms harassing you on and below the surface, and the larger worms just gobbling up entire harvesters that you'll be able to build and control to mine spice. Spice naturally being one of the more prominent resources in Dune Awakening, although Funcom hasn't really elaborated too much on how we'll be interacting with spice other than being able to sell it on the exchange and consuming it to improve or increase your abilities at the cost of addiction and an ever-growing reliance on the spice.
He knows about the spice.
And for fans of the old Dune RTS games like me, you can use carryalls to carry your harvesters around the map. Nice. In the Survive Arrakis trailer, there was a moment where you could see a ship falling from the sky, and pretty soon after, a bunch of players were scrambling to salvage it and steal the resources that it dropped. These have been confirmed as a form of public dynamic event, which will prompt a scramble for high-value goods for multiple player groups to fight over. I generally enjoy these sort of mechanics as they encourage emergent gameplay. This provides a nice element of risk versus reward that appeals to the loot goblin in me and probably you too. The shifting sands feature sounds like an interesting mechanic and one of the more unique features of Dune Awakening so far, where a Coriolis storm will come in, sweep in and reset an entire PvP-focused zone known as the Deep Desert on regular weekly intervals. The storm will essentially wipe clean any structures or items established inside the zone as a completely new zone emerges, with semi-procedurally generated environmental features and spice fields to fight over before the next reset looms. This sounds like areas of the game where Funcom can decide, at least initially, to focus some of their high-risk versus high-reward gameplay, where quickly establishing and holding outposts may be temporarily useful to you or your faction. Overall, I'm pretty excited about this feature. As a PvP-centric player, this is probably where I'm going to end up spending most of my time in the game. From the sounds of things, creative director Joel Bylos really wants to kind of remove some of the tedium that we get with more sort of hardcore survival games and MMOs, which I personally welcome. The blueprint feature and co-op building system really stands out as a huge quality of life improvement, where you can place holograms of an intended structure that you or your allies can then fill in with the required resources. Additionally, once you've built something you like, you can save its blueprint and share that with other players or sell it on the market. With a large emphasis on no kicking of sandcastles, Funcom has made it easy for your structures inside the smaller, PvE-oriented zones to remain protected from PvP. As long as you maintain power and upkeep for your base, they cannot be attacked. Considering the game will be focusing heavily on both PvE and PvP, with plenty of PvP to be had in the Deep Desert, I'm pretty cool with this decision. So if you're looking for Rust on Arrakis, this game probably isn't it. Now, in the Dune universe, everybody's rocking the Holtzman shield these days. It's as common as walking around with your phone, wallet, and keys in modern day life. But in lore, in Dune, if you fire a lasgun at a shield, it has the potential to create, or will create, a subatomic explosion.
Atomics!
So after Funcom talked to the writers of Dune, the Herberts, obviously not Frank Herbert himself, they found a way to sidestep this issue. Basically, the game will engage a sort of safety on your lasgun every time you aim it at a shield, a Holtzman shield. The safety will engage and you'll be unable to fire, which I think is a pretty cool way to kind of get around that problem. Apparently, the idea of nukes going off every 5 seconds on Arrakis didn't sound like fun, apparently.
Atomics!
Scavenging for resources, managing character status, and crafting equipment. In terms of survival mechanics, Funcom doesn't seem to be doing anything wildly innovative on that front, although it does seem like water is naturally the primary resource you'll be balancing in order to survive Arrakis, and with no rain and very few resources available in the coarse, rough, and irritating desert, I highly doubt you'll be chopping down trees, with a greater focus on mining rocks, minerals, and scavenging materials and water from small, rare plant life. Shelter will also be incredibly important to avoid sandstorms or dangerous levels of heat, which will quickly kill you if you're not careful. So we've briefly touched on some of the features you can expect from Dune Awakening. It's time to touch on some of the other defining features of the game, where I believe Joel Bylos may be drawing inspiration from the famous Star Wars MMO, Star Wars Galaxies, which might give you some insight into how some major features of Dune will play out. At least I hope, because Star Wars Galaxies was really f***ing good. Classes and skill system. In Dune Awakening, you start by creating your character and choosing a mentor, which will determine your starting abilities. For now, the schools you can choose from include the Mentat, the Trooper, Swordmaster, and Bene Gesserit. And once you enter the game, you'll be able to acquire new abilities and skills from trainers you can find in the world, allowing you to create your own playstyle and class, combining elements from all 4 of the major class archetypes. In Star Wars Galaxies, you did something similar, though there were much more professions to choose from. You could choose a starting profession which would determine some of your abilities to begin with, but after that, you could venture out into the world, earn skill points, and put them into skill trees to help define the class you wanted to be. When you'd reach certain thresholds of a skill tree, you'd need to seek out a trainer who would unlock the next skill tree for you to continue your progress. While NPC trainers have been confirmed, it's unconfirmed if players can train these abilities for you as well. I'm just saying this was a pretty cool feature of the time and kind of created this natural mentor system between players, which helped make the world feel more alive. Faction-based warfare. We don't know much about Dune Awakening's faction warfare so far, but we know we'll have the option to choose House Atreides or House Harkonnen, with a third faction scheduled for some time after the game's release. Within these factions, you can work your way up through the ranks by completing missions and objectives assigned by faction-specific NPCs, apparently gaining more power within your faction as you rank up. You can even rise to the rank of Baron, but what that actually means in the context of the game is yet to be revealed. I'm not so sure I like the idea of your average Joe running around Arrakis, becoming as powerful as the floating fat man, summoning me to his chamber for his sick and twisted pleasures. But Joel, if that's what we got to do to play your Dune game, then I will take one for the team. So how else might factional warfare work in Dune Awakening? Well, once again, let's draw some potential inspiration from the mighty Star Wars Galaxies, which also had a two-faction system, Rebels and Imperials. Everyone started neutral, but you could align yourself with either of the factions, allowing you to take part in factional PvE or PvP warfare, earning galactic civil war points for your character and faction, which would then allow you to unlock increasingly rare faction-specific items. In Dune Awakening, this could translate to faction-specific armor, vehicles, still suits, buildings. How Star Wars Galaxies tackled increasing levels of faction power was with the points decay. The less active you were in factional warfare, the more faction points you'd begin to lose. So if you wanted to retain your rank, you would need to maintain your activity in PvE, factional warfare, or PvP factional warfare. Otherwise, you'd slowly lose points and thus lose your rank and then access to these specific faction items. Player crafting. Star Wars Galaxies had arguably the best crafting system in any MMO to date, with the ability for you to intricately alter item and structure properties based on a variety of input materials and components, with chances to create items with special and unique properties. You could also attribute your name to the item and sell your wares on display in player-built shops or planetary auction systems. What was really cool is certain players on the server started to become known for their quality of items, and they would be actively sought out by other players on the server. In Dune Awakening, Joel has spoken about how only some people will be able to craft certain items on Arrakis, potentially creating big demand with limited supply of certain specialty items among the server's player base. You'll be able to craft everything, including still suits, weapons, bases, and vehicles. Vehicle crafting in particular sounds interesting. It's modular, so you'll start with the vehicle base, and then you can customize it within reason to how you see fit. Combine this again with the blueprint system, and you can share those designs with your friends or sell them on the market. Personally, I'm hoping for customization like this across all of the items that you can build in Dune Awakening. Overall, I'm probably unreasonably excited for Dune Awakening based on the fact that we haven't really seen much gameplay at all, and there's still many questions left to be answered. But rest assured, I'll be covering more of Dune Awakening in the future, so if you'd like more Dune Awakening content in your life, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified of when more Dune Awakening videos drop from me in the future. I definitely have my concerns about the game, one of those concerns being crossplay, which almost always results in features being dumbed down for the PC Master Race audience, such as myself, but also provides a huge amount of additional people to play with and revenue for the game, hopefully ensuring a long, monetized, loot box-free experience for all of us. In terms of release date, this hasn't been confirmed yet either, but I'm expecting some sort of more wider open playtest sometime this year. Considering the game's been in closed beta for quite a few months now, we're seeing images where the game looks quite polished, the UI and everything's looking quite clean and good. Overall, the screenshots and everything we've seen so far looks great. So anyway, I hope you got something out of the video. If you did, you know what to do. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to my community for your continued support here on Detox's Lab and everywhere else. And thank you so much, of course, to my meaty members on Fourth Wall for your additional extracurricular support. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody. Goodbye.